Hello everyone, welcome to our next lesson. This is the second part of our modeling workshop, and in this part we'll be talking about how to animate your model in Blender. Let's begin. I promised we're going to make a cool animation with this beautiful model over here. So first of all, save this. In fact, you know what you're going to do? I want you to come and press this save incremental. So once what has happened when you save incremental, if I press open, you go to your folder, you'll notice you have a file called 3D model, and then you have another one called 3D model 1. So save incremental is for those people who maybe you're about to make a change on your Blender file and you don't want it to affect your file. So you're like, okay, fine. So when you press save incremental, save your Blender file as a new file, so that way you don't affect your old work, or any work you are doing from now on will not affect what you've done before. So now we're about to do something crazy. All right, so the concept of what we're going to do very quickly, we are going to make this guy press I, come down here, press I to insert the keyframe on this position. Then let's say at frame 100, we're going to move him up here. Okay, up here. Okay, frame 100 is too far, maybe frame 60. We're going to move him up here and press I to location rotation keyframe. So now we have this guy moving from here to here. And maybe not just that, maybe I want him to be rotated, arrow to rotate on the Y. No, you know what? Press arrow to give it a lazy rotation. That's what I call it. I don't think that's what it's officially called, but that's what I like to call it. I to insert that keyframe. So now the object has moved up. So we don't just want it to move up. I want it to actually come out of a box. So let's press Shift X to move our cursor to the world origin. Move it to the middle of the screen. Let's hide this guy. First of all, call this guy BG. And let's hide him. Save your work again. Okay, so we're going to make a box for this thing to come out of. This is going to be really cool. So mesh, add the plane, come to edit mode, scale it out. Maybe not too far, just enough to cover the dimensions of this drink. So it looks like a reasonable, if we move this, and okay, so it looks like a reasonable drink box. So cool. All right, so now we're going to press E on our, we're going to press E on our keyboard to extrude this, just enough that it covers the drink. Okay, maybe you go to face select this face here, select this face layer, S to scale, but we're going to scale it on the, instead of scaling it fully, I was going to scale it on the X-axis, so it's thinner. Again, we just want to make sure it's enough to cover the model, the drink, S to scale on the Y-axis. Okay, make sure it's just enough to cover the drink. Okay, that's really cool. G to grab this out. And now we press E again to extrude, enter to keep it in there. ES to scale this extrusion in, then E to extrude and move it down, like to the bottom of this thing. So you will notice that we kind of brought it way too low, so it came out of our square here. So just click on this other outer, the outer square, and just G, press Z to drag it down. Okay, so now, okay, G to move this so it's, okay, fits in there. Perfect. So, okay, you know what, let's undo that. Just, your camera wouldn't really see what's going on in there anyway, so just, you can shortcut it, it's fine. So once you have that in, press Ctrl arrow to add some edge loops, because we're going to add a cover to this box. Add an edge loop to move that up here. Ctrl arrow, add another edge loop, move that up here, and then press OK. So now we have this as our cover, and then click on this edge over here. then press E to extrude, and then move it till it covers here. Okay, it looks like that wasn't enough because this thing is sticking out, so Ctrl Z to undo that. Double click on this edge loop to select the entire loop. Double click on, instead of double clicking here, double click. If you double click and you see that you're selecting this thing, come to this edge over here, double click it, and you select around the edge loop here. And because if you just select this, it will assume this is the edge loop you want. So if you want it to be this way, come to this edge of those two faces. So that's it. G, grab this, bring it up a bit so the straw doesn't cover it. Press E to extrude. And yeah, so the straw doesn't cover it now. Now we're not going to cover it completely because we'll be needing this for something. So now Control R to add an edge loop here, and maybe another Control R to add another edge loop here. So we're going to do exactly the same as we did with that. Go to material mode, as the same thing that we did with the we're going to do the exact same thing we did with the can. So we're going to add, instead of adding a new material, we want to copy the material, the color of the can. So let's select, if you click here, it's going to show you all of the materials that are available in your Blender file. So select body, and right now it's copying the material of the can itself, which is not really ideal. So we're going to just make a copy, because what we needed was the color of the can. So we'll just make a copy of this, press this new material. So once you click this, it's going to make a copy. So if I, the shortcut for hiding this box is press H, it will hide. Press Alt H, everything that was hidden will come back, including our background that we hid. So hide this and hide these guys. No, don't hide them. You know, just G, grab him, move him here. I want to show you something. So right now, since if they were connected, if I come here, go back to body, any change that I make on this guy will affect this other guy. So I don't want to do that. And so that's why we made him to make a copy of this thing. So Ctrl Z, move him back. Cool. So now press plus, make another material. This one can be white. Yeah. So now we're going to select this place that we made, and then apply the white material to it. So we just call this white box, and this one box body. And then you see this thing that we created, this cover. Let's give it its own material. So let's create a new one material. Press new, and you know what, let's copy this color. Okay, you know what, let's delete that material. You can't delete materials in edit mode, so go back, delete the material, come back, add, and change this to box body, but make a copy of it. So now I can just reduce the brightness of this material, and it will fit. So assign, and good. So now we have this beautiful fancy cover. Also need to apply that to this corner here as well. Apply. So make sure it's not metallic. It should not be metallic. Boxes are not metallic. They are plastic, I believe. So got it. So now this thing is to give you is to answer a particular question that you might have had in mind, but you probably were not sure how to ask, which is that if we were to make a keyframe, now if we press H to hide this box, you notice that if we move this object up, yeah, we can just add keyframes to the object and move it up and all that, it's fine. But how do you add keyframe to, if we press I on our keyboard, there is no keyframe for the vertices, this gong vertices here. How do you add keyframes to these things over here? So that's what I'm going to show you right now. So you notice that the thing about changes that you make to an object's mesh, that if you press G to grab this out now, come to tab, is that it is permanent. So you can't come here, add keyframe, location, rotation, and come here, drag this guy out, then come to this other keyframe, add come here again. Okay, sorry. You can't just, add keyframe location rotation, then come to this other keyframe over here, then come here, drag this thing out, and then come out, add keyframe location rotation, or maybe even inside here. You can't even press I inside that place. Just add your keyframe. No, it's still there when you go back. The changes you make are permanent on your object. So how do you animate it? The answer is something called shape keys. So if we press Alt H to bring back our box, and what do shape keys do? I'm going to show you what shape keys are with this box. So if you click on this box, come to this corner over here and add shape key to this place. Yeah, you have your basis shape key. So the basis is what is the original shape of the object before we start modifying it. So we need an original shape to go back to. So we've created our base key. Then we add another one called shape key 1. It's automatically called shape key 1. So if we go to our box, you see this cover here. Let's select this place that we didn't completely cover. And then let's push it G to grab on the Y axis, I believe, and move it to this corner. And press tab to come out. So now it's as if nothing has happened, but actually something happened. If you click this value and you move it, you have actually animated. You have the secret to animate this entire object right now. So that is how you manipulate the vertex. So all you need to now do is to animate this value, and this thing would be animated. So just quick thing, you notice that this thing is a bit too black for my liking. Let's make it a bit brighter, maybe make it a bit pinker. Then this inside here, sorry, just housekeeping, and assign to make it white. Yeah, so it's not, so it looks good. Yeah, let's make it look good, okay? Let's make it look good, okay? All right, so that is how you can edit the shape of the shape or the vertices. This is how you can animate vertices of an object. Just come to this object data properties here, this green something, and come to shape keys. And then first you create your basis, which is the original shape before you modified it. So you can go back to it, and then you create your new shape key. So if the value is 0, that means it's going to be in the original shape, which is this basis. If the value is 1, it's going to be on the new shape. So you know what? So based on that, let's make that an animation right now. So if you come back here, press I to insert a keyframe when it's at 0 before the change starts. Then at this point, when something has started picking out, it's, you know what, let's move it so it's obvious when it comes out. So at frame 20, let's increase it to 1 and add keyframe here. So 1. So you notice that there's something kind of intersected with the box. So if we click on this guy, remember I told you can move keyframes. So click and drag to select your keyframes and move it a little bit. So it starts a bit later. So, okay, maybe not too late. Drag it down a bit more. I'm trying to make sure that it's not intersected at any point. Yeah, it's still intersecting. You know what, yeah, still intersecting. So I guess we'll need to move this, make this happen faster then. Okay, so you know what, let's increase the distance. Okay, so it takes, just keep monitoring it to make sure that nothing that is not supposed to happen is not happening. Okay, can keep this at frame 20. Hold on, I also want to see the timing of this. Yeah, so let's move this to like frame 90 or something. So all right, so that is actually pretty cool. So that is it with our animation of this box. So let's do something crazy with this guy over here. Select him and let's add, so the first way of making a shape key is to edit it directly from the first way of creating a shape key is, yes, this is always where you create shape keys, but instead of just editing the shape of this thing from here, there is another mode apart from edit mode where you can actually manipulate vertices. So we're going to use it to manipulate this guy and, add a bit of a crazy effect to him. So let's first add a shape key, which registers this object in its original form, its original shape. Then add another key, which is our main shape key now. Then let's come here from object mode to sculpt mode. You won't be using this a lot, instead of coming here, let's go to this sculpting tab. I don't think I've shown this a lot, but Blender has different tabs depending on what you want to do. It automatically creates certain windows for you, and it even has certain shortcuts unique to those tabs. So it might seem confusing, but just come to sculpting tab. Sculpting tab is dedicated to sculpting. And let's zoom out, come to this guy. So first of all, make sure that can is selected and come to these data properties. Make sure that your shape key is at 1, because if it's not at 1, for example, if I come to the grab brush, you'll see nothing is happening. Make sure it's at 1 so that you can see what you are doing. So now that you have that, let's mess up the shape. So right now, it's not really messing up the shape properly the way I want it to do. And the reason for that is because the shape doesn't have enough geometry. It doesn't, it's messing it up quite well, but it doesn't have enough geometry. It's still using this original geometry. So the best way for it to have more geometry is Ctrl Z, undo everything. The best way for it to get this thing to have more geometry, come back to layer mode, is to come to your modifiers and apply your subdivision surface. Apply it. Okay, so right now it's telling us to delete our shape keys first. We should do that. It can be applied if you have shape keys. So make sure you apply any of your modifiers before you add the shape key. So now if we come to edit mode, you'll see that we have many more edges and faces and vertices. That's what subdivision does. It just increases the resolution. So it makes your object smoother, but again, I told you don't spam it too much, because if you spam it too much, your object will be too high polygon, to have too much high polygons. So it will be having a high number of polygons and it will slow your system down. So make sure you don't do that too much. So come back, try again, add the shape key here, another key, increase this to 1, come to sculpting mode, get the grab brush and go crazy with this thing. So now you notice that as we are moving things around, press F to increase the size. If we're moving things around, it's like looking really, really crazy. So I'm going to murder this can like it's owing us money or something. So yeah, let's G to grab around. So if you think that it's too weak, you can increase the strength, and anytime you drag it, will just drag it. But I think the former strength was okay. I think the former strength was Shift, no, Ctrl Z. All right, former strength was 0.4. Yeah, so move that here. And maybe scrunch this corner, Ctrl Z, scrunch this corner a bit more, scrunch here a bit more. Okay, so just go crazy with it. That's completely up to you. And once you've done that, come to layouts and oh my god, it looks horrible. So yeah, that's what we wanted to do. So if we come back, if we turn the shape key to 0, it's normal. If we turn to 1, it takes the shape. So the idea of what we want to do is that when it comes up here at this stage, it's going to suddenly squeeze itself, collapse into itself it's going to collapse into itself like a certain submarine that I will not mention. So if we add a keyframe here, again, if you bring out this place, you see your keyframe here. This is the keys for your keyframe. This is your object transformations. So if we move, we want it to happen very fast. So increase the value to 1 and add a keyframe. So notice that we don't have any keyframe on the movement, just on the shape key. So just be aware all of your keyframes are here, as I've shown you. So increase this, and yeah, that's it, basically. So once it has done that, its movements, I want it to press G, Ctrl C, move to frame. First, let's see how this Z to solid. And let's copy this frame and put it back down so it comes up, rotates, and goes back down when it inflates. So I just wanted to hold this position a little bit. So let's make sure we're copying just the object transformations and not accidentally something else. So to see just the object, make sure you select just the can action here, which is the can object, not the shape key. Ctrl C and paste it here. The reason why I didn't select from it is because it will select everything, which means that if I just copy and paste it, I will indirectly just watch what will happen. Ctrl Z. If I just copy and paste, it's going to just copy the shape key, which is this shape key when it didn't have that deformation. So let's copy just the action here. Just the action. Okay, just select just the action here, copy, Ctrl C, paste it here. So good. All right. And now once it does that, comes out, collapses, falls down, and the animation will end here, so it will end in frame 160. And this box, let's copy this, Ctrl C, come around here, it's falling down, paste, and Ctrl C, come around and paste the box we close back. So be starting the closing too early. Make sure it's not starting too early. All right, cool. So comes up, squeezes, and falls back down. And that is our beautiful animation. So let's just move this out, rotate this a little bit, give it a lazy rotation, move it up, move it up, and just turn that into a keyframe so it doesn't just hold that position. So I think the shape key is taking too long to work. So let's move the shape key so it's a bit more sudden. Oh, you know what? It's fine. It's fine where it is. This is just a demo. Okay, so I believe if we go to our camera right now, the object goes out of camera. So I'm going to show you one more crazy trick. I know I've thrown a lot at you over the course of this tutorial. It was supposed to be animation, but it was supposed to be a modeling course, but I've started throwing a lot of animation stuff. That's because I want your hands to be a bit stronger in animation. So now if you go to your camera and you want your camera to consistently look at this object over here. I want it to consistently look at this guy. You can animate it by hand, or let us do something called come here to constraints. Every single object has this barcode constraint. Come here to constraints and click on add object constraints and add track to. So before we add that, let's come to this objects, hide this cube. Let's come to our object as soda can, press Shift A, add an empty to it, add a spherical empty or any kind of empty, like scale it out, then parent this empty to the can. And now if we move the can, the empty follows. So we're going to rename it to camera focus, because the camera is going to be looking at that empty. So we're going to set this empty called camera focus as the target in the camera's track to constraints. So now you can see that anytime we move the can, the empty follows, and the camera also follows the empty as well. So what we're going to do next is that we don't just want it to, let's press Alt H to unhide our cube. We don't just want the camera to blindly follow it. We want the camera to also have a bit of freedom of movement. So for it to have a bit of freedom of movement, we're going to reduce the influence to like 0.8. That will allow the camera to have its freedom of movement. So in the first frame, we want the camera to, let's hide this so we can see what's going on. Look at the box, we move a little bit to the side. Now you notice the camera is already automatically rotating to look at the can that is inside the box, because right now it's constrained to the box. So if we move it in a little bit, move in this way, maybe arrow to rotate on the z-axis, arrow Z to rotate on the z-axis, then press I to insert keyframe for location rotation. Now the object comes up, and we're going to add another, this same keyframe. I'm going to copy, Ctrl C, copy this keyframe, Ctrl C, Ctrl V to paste it here. So when the object comes up, we want the camera to now come back to the side over here. We rotate this way, we come down a little bit, we come out a bit, and rotate this way. Now to rotate on the z-axis. All right, so we're gonna add that. So when it comes up, yeah, so I think that's cool. So now we have the shots where the object comes up and the camera just sees it and goes back in. So it's a perfect looping animation, just like that. So if we switch over to rendered mode to save, and so it gets dark when it comes out because there's no objects like lights in it. So just move this light up so that we get to see it in its best form. And that looks very, very beautiful. Hold on, let me see how it looks when it comes out. Okay, let's move it back up. I think it looks very good when it's up. Then you know what? Inside this box, we're going to add a little light in there so the box feels like it's lit up. And in this box, we'll increase it to like maybe 100. Maybe the lights will be somewhat yellowish. So then where is the light exactly? I can't see it right now. Okay, so right now it's inside the soda can. That's why we weren't seeing it. So let's just position it properly. Enable contact shadows. And now when the can comes out of the box, it feels like the box feels like it's lit up. Let's move it down a little bit. Even more yellow. Yeah, I think it's okay. All right, cool. So we got that. Then we're going to add one more light. Add this time an area light. Move it up. This one is going to be like directly on top of the objects. So of the can, just pointing downwards, give it 100 brightness as well. We move it to be directly over it. And yeah, you can leave it as white. It's just to separate it from the background so it doesn't feel like it's part of the background or get lost in the background because the background is pretty dark. So let's make this like 200. Okay, so all right, we increase the size of it a little bit so that it reflects well. So one secret I want to tell you is that, for example, let's look at this object. If you want it to feel like it's reflecting well, increase the reflection. All you need to do is just to increase the size of that light. It will begin to have a reflection shape on the object, but it will also be less bright because the larger a light is, the less concentrated the light's energy is. It's a bit too spread out, so it's going to be so thin. So use that feature sparingly. We're going to be using it during the final chapter, and but just be aware that it exists. So just increase the size of this light as well. And I think we have a very beautiful render here. So now you have your render completed. And so just some quick nitpick adjustments. Select these edge loops over here and Control B. And maybe should we make it automatically shade smooth? Shade auto smooth. Yeah, so we made the mesh to shade auto smooth and it looks really cool now. So it looks more defined. And this is your first product animation in Blender. So it's a fun loopable animation. And now all you need to do is to come over here and click on, first of all, as usual, one more key thing that I wanted to share is that you can make this a vertical video if you want. So if you want it to be on Instagram or TikTok or Reels, all you need to do, the size for a vertical video is 1080p by 1920p. Meanwhile, a landscape video is 1920p by 1080p. So just flip it. So you can do this as a vertical video if that's what you want. But if not, I think it's also cool as a normal video. And yeah, so come to your output, define where you want to save it, go to your folder where your stuff is, go to this export folder, and come to your model. Come to first, call this your first product model animation, and you can now enter and press accept. So all of your rendered frames will appear on that folder. So save this, come out of rendered view. We are still in Eevee. I told you that Eevee can still look good, but those of you who still want to render with cycles, you are free to do so as well. And cycles is always going to look a lot better, a lot more flashy, a lot more realistic, but it's going to take longer but it's going to take way longer to render. But just feel free to try out both engines and find out which of them you prefer and work with that. So I'm rendering with Eevee for this particular shot, and let's go render animation. All right, guys, so now we finished rendering our animation, and we'll just close this render bar. Come again as usual to File, New, Video Editing. Make sure you save your changes on your object and add image sequence. Now come to where your files are. So normally it will be out of order. Make sure you get it in order by pressing name. So this will get it in order. Now press A to select everything and add image strip. So now your image strip has been added. So now change the end time to 160, and if you play it, this is your animation. So depending on whether you use cycles or Eevee, it could look slightly different, but it still looks good nonetheless. So you have this here. Come over here as usual, go to encoding, change this to high quality, define the output location. I want it to you know what, I want it to be around here, and we'll just call this my first model animation, and render it. Let's make sure it's an MP4 file here and render it. And now that it's done, you can go to where you save the file, which should be somewhere where you kept it, and it will appear here. In fact, all your files are now here. So this is your first model animation, and this is how it looks. So if you made it this far, I really want to say thank you for watching this far. Congratulations on this, and in our next chapter we are going to go straight into a full production process. We're going to make a proper commercial. This is just like a fun stuff. You've already gotten the foundation here, so we're going to like make a real commercial with what we've used here, or what we've learned here. And that's it for our modeling workshop. I hope you had fun. I hope you've created something worthy of sharing with your friends. Be sure to like and subscribe, comment if you have any questions about the lesson, and of course share this video with someone else who wants to learn modeling as well. Be sure to check out our next lesson and have a wonderful day.
Enjoy all these premium courses in this channel for free.